Legends have been one of the biggest and most entertaining additions to the MLB The Show series in the last few years. Having the ability to play with some of our favorite players of old, going as far back as the 1900s, and as current as the 2000s, has been one of the most fun parts of the game that we've seen in recent times. And with every new release comes a fresh batch of legends to keep things new and different, and to keep the players grinding. So this video is going to be a list of 10 guys that I would like to see make their first appearance in MLB The Show 20, and the list isn't in any particular order, just kind of thrown together. But these are the guys I want to see in the game. Let me know who you want to see in the game in the comment section below. Give me your list of 10 legends. And we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to go ahead and get straight into it. So the first legend we're going to be talking about is Hammerin' Hank Aaron, the Atlanta Braves legend, one of the best home run hitters of all time. And I think it's fair to say that Hank Aaron had one of the biggest impacts on the game of baseball we've ever seen, and it's genuinely kind of shocking that we haven't seen him in an MLB The Show game yet. Between Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron, there was nobody that even came close to hitting the amount of home runs that these two players did, unless you count Roger Maris's 61 home run season, which Hank Aaron never quite got close to, but over the course of his long career, he managed to hit 755 home runs, which stood for a long time until Barry Bonds surpassed it. But just looking at Hank Aaron's career, it was absolutely ridiculous how good he was. An all-star in every single season, except for his first and his last, and he was in the MVP running pretty much every single year. And I think it's completely fair to say he's one of the GOATs of baseball, and it would be really cool to see him in MLB The Show 20, and I hope he's in there. The next player we're going to be talking about is Alfonso Soriano, who I think has had one of the more interesting careers we've seen in the last 20 to 30 years. The guy is not quite a Hall of Famer, but his career stats aren't too shabby either. Over 2,000 hits, over 400 home runs, but he's definitely had some peaks and some valleys in his career. For example, he's one of the few players in history to achieve a 40-40 season with 40 homers and 40 stolen bases, which he did in 2006 with the Washington Nationals. And then he went on to sign a mega deal with the Cubs, in which he wasn't bad, but he wasn't exactly that player again. And then of course he had his late career resurgence with the Yankees, in which he went on an absolute tear in the second half of 2013. And he was one of my absolute favorite players to watch because of just the absolute absurdness of his hot and cold streaks. When Alfonso Soriano was on, you could not get the guy out. He would not miss, and he would just be spraying the ball all over the place. But when he was on a cold streak, he looked absolutely lost up there. And it's just one of those interesting things about baseball, how one day you could look like one of the best in the world, and then the next you could look like a complete amateur. And I think Soriano is a really good example of how baseball, from day to day, you never know what's going to happen and you never know what might change. But he's definitely had one of the most entertaining careers I've ever seen, and even if he's not a Hall of Famer, he's still one of my personal favorites. Next up, we're going to be talking about another one of my personal favorite baseball players. One of the most controversial ones of all time. We have Alex Rodriguez, the one and only, who I think, if we put steroids aside, we can say he had one of the best, most productive careers of any baseball player ever, picking up over 3,000 hits, which I was actually there to see his 3,000th hit in person, which was absolutely insane. Almost 700 home runs. He retired, unfortunately, I think 4 short, which is a little bit infuriating to my OCD, but it's whatever. And just also had one of the wackiest, weirdest roller coasters of a career we've ever seen. But now it seems like he's in a much better place. People don't really hate the guy as much anymore. And you could tell when you see him on TV, he has a genuine love for the game of baseball, which is why I think he would be interested in being in the game, maybe even further raising his public appeal. But if you remember back in the day, MLB The Show 16, A-Rod had some of the nastiest flashback cards in the whole game. So let's bring those back in the game, have some fun with it, and I think everyone would benefit there. Even if you don't like the guy, you gotta admit he was one hell of a baseball player. The next legend we're going to be talking about is a part of the dying breed of the multi-sport athlete, and it's Bo Jackson, who's probably the most popular player to ever play 2 major sports. Of course, he played in the NFL for the Oakland Raiders, and in Major League Baseball. And the reason I have Bo Jackson on this list is because, basically, it'd be cool as shit to have him in the game. I mean, who would actually complain about having Bo Jackson and MLB The Show? And if he's in Madden, I'm not exactly sure how their licensing deal works with former players, but I feel like he'd definitely be open to being in the MLB game as well. And he'd definitely be one of the more fun cards to use, as he was actually a pretty damn good player in his prime, and one of the most athletic players we've ever seen to date. Of course, you could also do this with Deion Sanders and some other guys, and maybe even Kyler Murray in a few years if we're lucky. That'd definitely be something I'd love to see. But I hope we get Bo to start things off, and then we'll just go from there. Our next legend here is Josh Hamilton, who is unfortunately one of the best cases of what could have been in baseball history. If he didn't have all those personal struggles, we might have been seeing the career of a Hall of Famer unfold, just based on the amount of sheer talent and skill this guy had. But unfortunately, it did not work out that way. But he still had one of the better primes that we've ever seen, in my opinion. Just the absurd amount of power he had, and his iconic swing. Of course, we all remember the 2008 Home Run Derby at Old Yankee Stadium. The talent that Josh Hamilton put on display was absolutely ridiculous. And he's another low-key 2000s to 2010s legend. And I think having him in the game would be nice for Rangers fans to see. Although not so nice for Rays fans or Angels fans, but Josh Hamilton's one of my personal favorite players, and I think I'd have a blast using him if he was a legend in MLB The Show 20. The next guy we're going to be talking about is Joe DiMaggio, dare I say one of the most iconic and one of the most famous baseball players to ever live, and also one of the GOATs of baseball history. Joe DiMaggio had mythical power. In Old Yankee Stadium, they say that the dimensions out to left center field used to be something like 450 feet, and Joe DiMaggio would hit home runs that clear the wall by freaking miles, it seemed like. And considering the fact that San Diego Studios has added a bunch of players from this older era type of baseball in the game before, I think Joe DiMaggio would be one of the most iconic ones to have in the game. And if they make his stats back up his real life play, would definitely be one of the more fun ones to use too. And I don't really have to explain that much about Joe DiMaggio's impact on baseball. I think every baseball fan knows his name alone and the weight it carries with it. So why not? Let's put him in MLB The Show 20. Our next legend is another player who needs no introduction, and it's Barry Bonds, again one of the most controversial players in baseball history. His name and reputation absolutely precede him, and in my humble opinion, I think he's one of the best hitters to ever live, regardless of steroids or any other outside factors. And you couple this with the fact that he's already been in an MLB The Show game, in a sense, as Reggie Stalker back in MLB The Show 16, I think reinstating him back in the game would be a lot of fun. I'm not exactly sure why they took out the Reggie Stalker character, but I think if Bonds does make a reappearance in the series, that's most likely how it's going to go. Because let's be honest, playing with Barry Bonds is an absolute freaking blast. The guy's a monster, he's an absolute home run machine, and that's the most fun part of baseball, hitting absolute dingers. Put back Barry Bonds, let everyone have fun with it, and go from there. In at number 8, we're going to be talking about Adrian Beltre, who I feel like at the same time has had one of the most underlooked careers, but at the same time well-respected careers in the last like 20 years. Because there's absolutely no doubt that the guy's going to be a Hall of Famer, but he was never really like a household name or anything like that, and that pretty much comes down to the teams he played on for the majority of his career. But he was definitely one of the most interesting players to watch as the 2000s and the 2010s unfolded, and he did have some good flashback cards in previous MLB The Show games. Plus, he was one of the more funny personalities in all of baseball. Seeing him goof around with Elvis Andrus all the time was pretty fun, so he's a good guy to have in the game, and we could celebrate his future Hall of Fame induction a few years early by adding him into MLB The Show 20. Coming in at the number 9 spot, we have Derek Jeter, who at the time of me recording this is almost certainly going to be inducted to the Hall of Fame tomorrow, the 21st of January, and he might even get in unanimously. I don't know yet, but I'm sure you guys will by the time this video's out. But I think it's also fair to say that Derek Jeter is one of the most iconic baseball players ever, and having him in the game would definitely be a huge boost for San Diego Studios in terms of clout points. But at the end of the day, I feel like this one would be very unlikely because Jeter just doesn't really seem like the guy that cares enough to get himself in the game and to probably want way too much money to actually be in it. But as unlikely as it is, it'd still be really cool to see him in there. So that's why he's on my wish list. But I highly doubt this one will ever happen, unless San Diego Studios pulls off some crazy stuff. Then that'd be impressive. And finally, we're going to be rounding things out with the one and the only Randy Johnson, the recent Hall of Fame inductee, and a guy that I've been clamoring for to be added into the game for the last like 3 years, I think. A lot of people thought this year was finally going to be the year that he makes his appearance in the series, but unfortunately this wasn't the case, so why not have 2020 be the first time? He was one of the nastiest pitchers to ever live, with that weird sidearm angle he threw from. and just generally speaking had some of the nastiest stuff that I think we've ever seen as baseball fans, and was one of those guys that was just so unique that I don't think we'll ever see another player like him. So having him in the game would be really cool and fun to use, and it's 2020, so why not have some fun with it, right? San Diego Studios, get the job done. Well guys, that's all I have for you today. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. As I said earlier in the video, let me know in the comments below, who do you want to see make their first appearance as a legend in MLB The Show 20? Give me your list of guys down below, no matter how long it is, 10, 5, 3, 30. I don't care, I want to see what you guys think. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'm out. Peace.